guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is a little bit different in that I have two of my very good friends here with me to record. So I'll have them introduce themselves and explain where they went to undergrad and when they applied and which school they're currently attending.
So my name is Leslie and I'm a current second year pharmacy student at Western University. I graduated from UC Riverside in 2017 with a degree in biochemistry, and I applied for pharmacy school in July of 2018 for matriculation in fall of 2019.
Hi everyone, my name is Angie. I'm an incoming second year PA student at USC, and I went to undergrad at Northeastern University, graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's in health science. I applied to PA school starting April 2018 and started my first year in fall of 2019.
Okay, so I guess we should explain how we all met, right?
Yeah.
How long ago was it? 3 years?
3 years.
3
yeah.
years, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. So I've mentioned this on my channel before, but I was a part of an organization called Flying Samaritans, and we went to Mexico once a month to provide primary care to individuals who lacked access to it. And this was something that occurred once a month on a Saturday. We would wake up at 4 a.m. and spend the whole day, get back sometimes at like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., and you meet a lot of great people, and these two ladies and I hit it off right off the bat, so I met them there. And how long were you guys involved with Flying Sams beforehand?
I think before I met you, I probably had been going for about a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think right when I graduated from college, I graduated from UCR, and I never went to Cal State Long Beach.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to join this awesome organization, so I emailed them, and I think I joined September 2017, and they were like, yeah, you don't have to go to Cal State Long Beach, come on, join us. So it was really cool, and I really loved it.
To be honest, I don't remember when I joined, but Leslie told me about it, so I was in it for probably like a year.
Yeah.
Would you mind explaining to everyone how Flying Sams conducts their clinic days? Because it's pretty intricate.
Yes, so what we would do is we would plan all the clinics beforehand, and then we have different people filling different roles. So basically what we would do is we would meet up at Cal State Long Beach, and we would all caravan together down to Mexico, and we'd probably get there around like 8 or 9 a.m. We would stop first in San Diego, get some food, and then head on over, and then from there we would start setting up the clinic. So we would set up the med area, so that's the part that I was in the pharmacy, and then we would also set up about 2 little shadow areas for each practitioner to use, and then there was also a registration area, and we would also have a donation area. So every time we would go, we would bring a bunch of donations to give to the patients that we would see.
Yeah.
I feel like the last couple clinics that we had about 70 patients, right?
Yeah. This organization was pretty much run by students of Cal State Long Beach, and we had 2 providers that accompanied us that were nice enough to volunteer with us on a monthly basis. But it's really impressive because we all came together and were able to set up this clinic every month, and we actually expanded it in the time that we were involved with it. So we initially, when we first started, we saw about 16 patients a day, and by the time we left, we ended up seeing up to 55 patients a day in like a 6-hour period. And so it was quite the experience. And Angie, you did some incredible things dancing with the patients there. Like do we have video?
I think we have a video.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
So I would make up a dance and show them, do a little mini warm-up, kind of get them more comfortable, and then teach them a short dance. They would kind of perform it for whoever was out in the waiting area. And then we also had them parade around. There's like a little playground, parade around and dance. Just playing loud music for them to enjoy while they're waiting.
Yeah,
Just
I'll
really
add a clip of it because it was actually like my favorite thing to see.
And the kids loved it.
Yeah. One thing I would recommend if you're a pre-PA or pre-pharm student, or even if you're pre-PT or you know anyone who's kind of pursuing those different medical careers, I would recommend taking the opportunity to volunteer in a place like South America or Mexico, even if it's just for a day, because you meet so many incredible like-minded people, not only who are volunteering as well, but you work within communities that genuinely need access to healthcare, primary care, all of that, and you learn so much, and I couldn't recommend it enough. So would you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like, so I also didn't go to Cal State Long Beach. I just kind of went
You guys
in.
were just throwaways.
Yeah, just went with Leslie. And it was during my gap year when I joined Flying Sam's, and it was honestly I'm so glad I did it. I learned a lot from it, and it showed me what lack of access to healthcare looks like in other countries.
So we have a list of common questions that we all receive on Instagram or via email or even here on YouTube. I've answered a lot of these in social media platforms before, but I'd like to get their perspective as well. So we'll dive right into that.
So one thing that I love about my program at Western University is that everybody is super friendly. All my professors have such a great open door policy. I could just run up the stairs and go bother them at any time with any questions that I have. And I really love that. It's been really helpful for me.
For the USC program, I would say that along the same lines as Leslie, they also have an open door policy, and they've also been super supportive especially during this pandemic, basically transitioning everything to Zoom and online. It's been like a pretty smooth transition. They've always been super supportive and just an email away.
So would you guys mind diving into what your classes are looking like currently, since there is a pandemic going on and a lot of schools are doing online classes? Are you guys doing strictly online? Are you guys talking about going back to hybrid? Sort of dive into how that is going to look.
So as for last semester, we were online strictly, and all of our exams are online as well. So we use an exam software where we take our exams and quizzes. They did add extra security, so it's called Exam Monitor. So we use that where they would just watch us through our own computer camera. And as for next semester, we have stated so far that we're going to be online as well. And I think the only thing that we would do in person would be compounding lab. So where we make suppositories and capsules and all that stuff, but just a couple of us at a time.
Right now I'm on my summer break, but we did transition completely online for the last 3 months. So we took our tests online, and they would utilize Zoom on our iPads and watch us through our iPads and proctor us through our iPads, and then we took our exam on our computers. For the fall, they're talking about a hybrid. So basically we would be mostly online, and then we would be going in small groups for clinical skills. It's all kind of up in the air. It just depends on what happens.
So I know that in high school, choosing a major, even where you go to college, and even a profession is super hard. I mean, that's the rest of your life. But honestly, if I were to go back to high school, I know that a lot of colleges offer like a 4+2 program for med school, pharmacy school. I'm not sure about PA, but I actually wish I would have done that. It probably would have saved me a lot of time if I would have known back then that this is something that I was interested in. I know that Angie is part of a program that exposes you to a lot of different health professions. I wish that I would have had that in high school as well to kind of help me decide what is it that I wanted to do. For a bit, I was in between med school, and then I jumped into PA, and then I ended up choosing pharmacy. But I think that if I was in high school and had those opportunities, it might have been a little bit more clear.
Solid advice. Yeah, Angie, you're involved with something through the USCPA program, correct?
Yes, correct.
Expanding on that a
Sure.
little bit.
So it's called the Pipeline Program. It was created by one of the faculty at the USCPA program. So basically we host about 60 to 100 students, and they can actually be from elementary school all the way up to community college age, but mostly we get high school students. And we highlight a different healthcare career every month, and it happens once a month on a Saturday. And basically we get speakers from that profession, and they also host workshops so the students get to interact more. And actually Leslie was one of the speakers and a workshop leader. So yeah, they really enjoy it, and I wish I had a program like that just to learn more about different healthcare professions.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say in high school, I did not know what I wanted to do. I was telling these ladies that I was thinking of getting into photography, which is a big hobby of mine now, but of course I went a completely opposite direction with medicine, and so something like that would be super advantageous at the high school level. So I would agree. I would say explore your options if you're still weighing the pros and cons of various medical professions, and then if you do know what you want to do, then make sure that you're planning ahead. And I'll do a future video on what I would recommend for people who are interested in the PA profession, because I think I can speak to that a little bit more than pharm or med or anything of that nature. One question I get a lot is which major is recommended for specific professions in the medical field. So I'm wondering which major you guys chose in undergrad and how you felt it benefited you in your future profession.
I actually first majored in biology for about 2 years, and then I switched over to biochemistry once I knew that I wanted to do pharmacy school. And I actually felt that that helped me a lot because in pharmacy school we talk a lot about cell signaling, and for us there are a lot of people that graduated from UCI and they majored in health science where they really didn't take that many science classes. So when we talk about cell signaling in pharmacy school, we kind of glance through that because that's something that you should already know, and then these people that maybe didn't have a science background, they're struggling a little bit just to even understand that and then to put that general information forward. And although for pharmacy school, a lot of schools actually don't require a degree at all, and you could just take the prerequisite classes, but I would actually recommend any major that would satisfy the requirements that you are looking for any program that you're interested in.
Did most of the people that are in your cohort have an undergraduate degree or no?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, me neither. Whereas for PA school, I think the majority of programs require a bachelor's degree. So I majored in health science, and the reason why Northeastern also has a PA program within like the health science 𝚘𝚘 College of Health Sciences, they kind of track you. Like if you're pre-PA track, they will make sure you take all the classes required.
Oh, nice.
For being a physician assistant. So that was like super helpful, and I didn't have to really worry about getting classes. We actually got to take a lot more public health classes, which is super helpful too as a health science major.
I think Angie's major had something else to it. It was like a 5-year undergrad, right?
Oh yeah. So at Northeastern University, we have a co-op program, and basically they want to expose us to like working in the real world. So instead of 4 years of undergrad, most of us have 5 years of undergrad, and most people do 2 to 3 co-ops. So after your second year, you would apply to basically according to your major. So mine was like the hospitals around in Boston, and you would work full-time for 6 months, and then you would go back to classes for 6 months and then do another co-op for 6 months. So 2 of my co-ops, one was at Brigham and Women's and I was an administrative assistant, and then my second one was at Boston Children's ENT as a clinical assistant or like an MA, which was a great patient care experience.
Would you guys mind explaining what the curriculum is like at your current schools?
So for me, for my first year, we don't have the block system. So Western is known for their block system, but you have that from your second year to your third year. So for my first year, my classes were kind of all over the place. I was mainly in class 8 to 5 most days, some days 8 to 3, and I have rotations during the school year, whereas some schools have them during the summer. And my classes that I had, I took immunology, I took some pharmacy calculations classes. We had 4 therapeutics classes where we learned all about disease states and kind of to prep us for the block schedule. And then I also had 2 self-care classes per semester. There I would learn about over-the-counter products and most common things that people would come to your pharmacy and ask. And that's kind of all the exposure we have of that. After this first year, we don't ever get that again. And we learned about things like dermatitis, allergic rhinitis, things like that. And then aside from that, we just had our rotation class. So we would go to rotation for 4 weeks, and it would be 3 days a week, and we did that twice. Next year is when I'll start the block schedule. So I'll be going to class for about 18 days on one subject, and then have a test at the end and have a little bit of a break, and then move on to the next schedule. So I'm excited to see how that's gonna turn out for me.
So first semester and second semester, they're kind of similar, but first semester we had 1 extra class, so a total of 4 classes. The first one is behavioral sciences, where we learned about like ethics, and we did some projects, like some group projects and things like that. And then TIM, which is topics in medicine, and that's like the bulk of like the disease conditions, the treatment, all that good stuff. And then basic medical sciences, which is like our foundation for anatomy and physiology, just like a good review to make sure we're all on the same page. And then we also have clinical skills, so that's where we learn physical exams and OSCE stuff, which is fun.
Can you explain what an OSCE is for people who don't know?
Sure. So for OSCEs in PA school, I think They do it in farm school too.
Yeah.
We get a standardized patient, or SP, and those are actors that come from other places, not affiliated with USC, I don't think, and they pretend to be your patient. And we do it for each module. So we had one for neurology, we had one for musculoskeletal, and basically we take a full history, we do a physical exam, and then afterwards we have an interstation where we write notes, like the actual note and charting for that patient.
What made you guys choose the career path that you ultimately chose?
So for me, I was kind of in between medical school, and then I kind of had a negative experience volunteering at a local community hospital, and it kind of turned me away from having such direct patient care. And I thought that I wanted to do PA school after that, but because of the same reason, I just felt like it wasn't for me. So I wanted to be in the medical field without having so much contact with the patient. And I felt that pharmacy was a great way. I loved biochemistry, so I felt like the knowledge would be there, and you're kind of like the drug expert, and you can still have a way to see patients one-on-one if you wanted to. So we have a thing called advanced practice pharmacist now in California, so it kind of is to fill in the physician gap, and patients can be seen by this pharmacist. You do need additional certification, but instead of having to see a doctor, the pharmacist could prescribe you medication and oversee your medications and your plan of care, and you wouldn't have to go see a doctor. So it's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of opportunities within pharmacy, and I think that I could be doing things that I wanted to do maybe within the medical field, but a little bit different.
I did not know that. That's actually really cool. Can pharmacists in that particular circumstance perform things like physical examinations?
So yeah, they can. So in school, they actually teach us physical examinations. We learn how to do range of motion, auscultations, palpations. We learn how to do a bunch of stuff. So we practice with the heart sounds. We've done all of that. So just because the field of pharmacy is changing so much, I'm excited to see where it's going.
Yeah, I honestly did not know that.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
For me, so I grew up, both my grandpas were physicians in Taiwan, and they both have like one of the longest practices. Actually, one of my grandpas on my mom's side, he still practices to this day as an ENT physician. So I kind of grew up in a clinic setting. And when I lived in Taiwan for 5 years, I voluntarily worked in his clinic as like a 3-year-old, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I kind of got to witness like how they helped their own communities, and how rewarding it was. So I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. I didn't find out about PAs until high school. So my aunt, who's a physician, worked closely with a PA, and she just said, why don't you kind of research more about physician assistants? And I did, and I fell in love with it. And I liked having some autonomy, but also having support as well if you need it.
Did you guys take a gap year before you actually started PA school and farm school? And if you did, how did you spend that time? Or even the summer before you actually started school, how did you spend your time? Did you guys study? Did you relax? Did you go on vacation? How did it look for you?
So for me, I graduated in 2017, and unfortunately for pharmacy school, you needed anatomy and physiology, and my undergrad didn't have it, so I needed to take it somewhere else. So I ended up taking it at a community college, and that's where I met Angie actually. And we took that class, and I actually took a couple other classes that I wanted to do better in. So I redid OChem and I redid physics. So those are my lowest performing classes. I also, during that time, I had no prior experience before graduating. So I had volunteered at the hospital, but they cut out the pharmacy program since there's a lot of regulations with handling medications. Mm-hmm. So I ended up working at an independent pharmacy for about a year. I also was doing flying SAMs at that time, so volunteering in Mexico once a month. And then I started working at CVS also, and once I stopped finishing my classes, then I started working full-time.
So you didn't really take any time off before school?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
so I continued working during my summer before pharmacy school, and then I just continued working through pharmacy school at CVS also.
Oh, really?
Yes. But
So-
I had to stop flying SAMs because fortunately I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So for PA school, they strongly recommend that you don't work at all in PA school. Is it the same for pharm school? Is it just strongly recommended, or do some people continue to work, or what?
Yeah, so they actually recommend that you do work in pharmacy
Oh.
school because I've noticed that the people that don't work have a harder time with the material. A lot of us that do work have already have exposure to the medications. So at the end of our first year, we have a top 300 drugs exam.
Okay.
And if you've never worked, you've probably never seen any of those medications, whereas a technician before, or even if you've worked as an intern, you've at least come across the main ones like atorvastatin, metformin, things like that. I think it's super helpful, and I would highly recommend working during pharmacy school.
What about you, Angie?
So for PA, I highly don't recommend working in PA school. I think that's like a big difference. But when I graduated in 2017, this was actually my second time applying to PA school. So I knew I had to work on my weaknesses, which was definitely my GPA. And that's why I retook those classes, retook anatomy and physiology, met Leslie, and some other science courses as well, and then took Spanish to meet the requirement for USC. And then I also worked as an MA for in dermatology, which was super helpful, I thought, because it was like direct hands-on patient care. Even though I had about 1,000 hours after graduating from undergrad, I felt I needed to work more and like in different specialties, which was helpful. Prior to starting PA school, don't study. Do not study. In USC, we do have a midterm test the first week, but I would recommend, yes, study for that, but don't stress about it and don't study.
Since you did reapply, do you have any advice out there for people who are reapplying this cycle, or who maybe will end up reapplying after this cycle? Just how to kind of move forward and maintain a positive disposition, and how to be productive with that news that you didn't necessarily get in your first time, and how to go about it.
Right. So being honest, it was very discouraging the first time when I was applying in undergrad and didn't get into any schools and didn't get any interviews. For me, I was telling my mom, I'm like, should I not do PA anymore? Should I try a different route? So I decided to just for fun apply to nursing school just in case, maybe. But I think it was a blessing in disguise that I didn't get into that one nursing school that I tried. And I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, if physician assistant is what you really wanted to do, I think you should go for it and just take those rejections as like fuel to do better and like kind of reevaluate your application and see what you need to work on. So that's why I came up with a game plan of like the things I wanted to work on was my GPA. So that was like I signed up for classes at community colleges and making sure I did well in those classes, and then working on my patient care hours as well as my volunteer hours, and showing my passion for that.
I think you even redid your personal statement, right?
Yes, so I would recommend redoing your personal statement and having at least 2 to 3 people read it and kind of getting that different perspective and making sure what they conveyed out of it is what you wanted admissions to see.
What would you say the main difference was between your original personal statement and then the second one, as far as the content goes?
I think for me, the second one, I kind of owned up to what my weaknesses were. So I kind of showed admissions like, this is what I know this was my weakness, and this is how I tried to improve it the second time. And then kind of just talking about my passions of like volunteering in the community.
We all know that PA school is incredibly busy, and pharm school is as well, of course. Do you guys have any downtime?
So first semester, I definitely didn't have as much downtime as I did second semester. I think I was still figuring out what study ways and methods worked best for me. I was definitely getting a lot less sleep than I was second semester. I think once I honed everything down, because I was recording my lectures and I could tell which professors I needed to do that for and which ones I didn't. Some of my professors, they highlight what's important in red, and so I know, okay, I don't even need to record, just know what's in red. But others, definitely everything is fair game, not even what's on the PowerPoint, but what they say. So just figuring out what way is best for me, but I definitely didn't have a lot of free time on weekends. I worked weekends, so that took up most of my time. And during first semester, I don't know why, I was planning a wedding too. So unfortunately, that I would not recommend doing that, but that took up a lot of my time as well.
Kudos to you, because I planned a wedding my final semester of undergrad while I was applying to PA school, and I thought that was a lot. But actually being in grad school while planning a wedding, hats off, because that's impressive.
I mean, you had it tough too. You did it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, that is true. I did. Well, yeah. What about you?
I forgot the question.
Do you have any
free
time off? Yes.
Okay, so first semester we had 4 courses, as I talked about before. I would say no, I didn't have that much free time, but I will say because we had our Fridays were half days, so we kind of had a weekend, but you realize in PA school it's you eat, breathe, and sleep PA school, so the days that you don't have classes, you're oh, thank God I have so much time to study.
Yeah.
So there's not really free time. After a specialty or a module, we would have a little bit of breathing time, and then I usually celebrate with a lot of food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Yeah.
Would you guys mind talking a little bit about how your study tactics differ in grad school versus undergrad?
So in undergrad, I feel you could definitely get away with procrastinating and cramming. I mean, I definitely have some friends in farm school that do that, but I would not recommend that. I definitely did that in undergrad, and that was probably contributing to my GPA, which wasn't that competitive, to be honest. In pharmacy school, I definitely changed the way that I studied. So what I do now is I record every lecture, and I do my best to take notes during lecture on my iPad. I use Notability, and I pay attention a lot in class. So I think that's super important to try to stay focused.
Yeah.
And then what I try to do the same day is I re-listen to that lecture, and I write down information that I missed or additional information. And then by the time that I get to studying for the material, I'm on top of things. I've listened to it 3 times, looked at it 4 times, and I don't have to study that much for the exam. And I think that that's something that's really worked for me this time around.
Nice. How about you?
For me, I think same thing. In undergrad, you could but you could procrastinate a little bit more. With PA school, you're just trying to kind of stay above water the whole time because there's so much material that's coming in. I do the same thing. So I do record the lectures on Notability. Notability, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's so helpful. And then I type all my notes, and then after the lecture, if time permits or if possible, I would try to do all my own notes. For me, colors help a lot. I'll write the color or the section or the disease, and then kind of type out all the signs and symptoms and the treatment and things like that. And then using GIFs and using clip art really helps me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a very visual learner, so it helps a lot. And I'll make up stories to remember medications, because the medication names sometimes have nothing to do with whatever it's for. I also, since we converted to Zoom, we do a lot of study sessions over Zoom, and even in person, I would do study sessions with people and just literally talk out the material. So before we talk it out, we would already have our own study guide where I have all those notes already done. We would test each other and pretend that each person was had a disease. And then we would all try to guess what that was, and that was super helpful because not only am I a visual learner, I definitely it helps things stick when I say it or when I hear someone say it.
Yeah.
And then we also did a lot of OSCE practice over Zoom as well, because with converting from Zoom, we just did practicing patient history, and so that was helpful to practice with others in our class.
Nice. I think that's a really good tip though. Like a lot of people say that they like to study independently, and I'm one of those people at the onset, but after I sort of have a good understanding of the general material, I really think that there's an advantage to like getting in a group and talking through everything and putting like real world application to the material to kind of put it into context and to solidify it a bit more. So I like that. And I also really appreciate that you can record lectures in grad school, because that is like a saving grace, especially if you're driving, if you're cleaning, if you're doing anything. Even when I was running, I would run and listen to my lectures, and it helped so much to really get the material down. One of the things that I was looking for in the PA programs that I applied to was how they give back to the pre-PA communities, both in the cohort and then for people who are an alumni and are practicing, how involved they are in the pre-PA community, because that's something I'm really passionate about. And I know you guys are as well. So I'm wondering if you can speak to whether your program has those opportunities available or if you're just doing that independently.
So for me, actually, my school doesn't have anything like that, and I really wish that they had. In the pharmacy community, I just really haven't seen that. So I was really interested in giving back to the pre-pharmacy community and even my current pharmacy student community as well. You know, I do post a lot about scholarships or opportunities like internships, and I just wish that I would have had that prior to coming into pharmacy school. I would have loved to see, you know, if this was the right journey for me, and I would love to teach others and kind of take them along with me for the journey and see if it's the right fit for them.
And so you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, correct?
Yes.
So what would your YouTube channel consist of?
I think for the most part, I would definitely talk about my journey to pharmacy school. I think that everybody needs to understand that you don't have to be the perfect candidate. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. You know, just different ways that you can get experience. I would love to talk about how to navigate the whole PharmCast process, and even just different study tips and tricks that I've learned in my first year. And then maybe just show people vlogs of, you know, my days at school and how it is in pharmacy school.
Yeah, I personally would be really interested in that, because even some of the stuff that I found out today about pharm, I had no idea about. And as somebody who's going to be working in healthcare, obviously it's so collaborative and we all work together, and I would love to learn a lot more. I could be wrong about this, but I feel like there's not currently a YouTube channel that's surrounded around pharmacists and what they do and what they're capable of, what that entire process looks like. So I would subscribe, is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
So yes, so USC does give back to the pre-PA community. We do, with the pipeline program, we do have a pre-PA. There's different branches. So mine, that I'm co-chairs of with another colleague of mine, is K through 16, which highlights all of the different healthcare fields that you can go into. There's also a pre-PA branch, which is headed by two of our professors, and they actually usually accept like a cohort of students and they expose them to different PA resources. I know a few students in my cohort actually were a part of that program prior to getting into PA school. So I would look into that on the Trojan PA website, which is kind of like a day in the life of being a PA student at USC. So I do have a professional PA account as a day in the life of a PA student, and it's mostly to like guide current pre-PA students, aspiring PA students, and kind of seeing like a day in the life of a PA student. And my main goal is to inspire people that apply more than once, since I'm a second-time applicant, but also giving different resources and different ways to like de-stress, or like even advice on Zoom and things like that.
Okay, so I think that that's it for today. I'm sure we can talk all day, because I myself have a million more questions, and I'm sure people watching probably do too. But if you guys do have questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We will be sure to get back to you. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we close out? Or
I just want to thank you for this amazing opportunity. It was really great catching up and chatting and talking about, you know, our different fields and where we hope to take our accounts and everything. So I'm really glad for this.
First of all, you do not have to thank me. So we haven't seen each other in a while, obviously because of coronavirus, and we just went to have brunch randomly. Obviously they know that I film these videos, and you guys are the ones that came here at a moment's notice to film, and filming does take a long time. It's a lot of work, and people usually have a hard time in front of the camera, at least for the first time. You guys crushed it, and thank you guys.
thanks. That's
Seriously,
so
no,
nice.
seriously.
Thank you.
You guys for coming here and filming with me.
It's so fun.
Thank you. It was so fun. And I wanted to say thank you. And if you are inspired or whatever, feel free to reach out to us. We don't bite.
Yeah. And if you guys did find this video helpful, I do make a video once a week, so feel free to subscribe. And aside from that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.